What if the biggest threat in the Monsterverse isn't a Titan, but the man who's about to unleash them? In Monarch, Legacy of Monsters Season 2, everything takes a dangerous turn as Lee Shaw makes a decision that could reshape the entire timeline and possibly destroy everything in the process. Because this isn't just another mission. This is a one-man operation. And that alone tells you something is very, very wrong. When Suzuki offers to go with him, Shaw immediately shuts it down. No backup, no support, no safety net. And when a character like Shaw decides to go alone, it's never a good sign. Because it means one thing. He doesn't expect to survive. And trust me, once you understand why Shaw is willing to risk everything, you'll realize this isn't just reckless, it might be the most dangerous decision in the entire Monsterverse. Because Shaw isn't just chasing a Titan. He's about to start a war. A direct collision between Godzilla and Titan X. And if there's one thing we've learned across the Monsterverse, it's this: Godzilla doesn't tolerate rivals. He doesn't negotiate. He doesn't hesitate. He destroys. So when you intentionally bring him into conflict with another powerful Titan, you're not just creating a fight. You're unleashing chaos. But to fully understand why Shaw is making this choice, we need to go deeper into one of the most complex elements of the series. Time itself. Because Season 2 isn't just about Titans. It's about timelines. And more specifically, how fragile those timelines really are. Monarch's changes to the past explained. One of the biggest revelations in Season 2 is how the Axis Mundi works, not just as a place, but as a force that connects different points in time. And this is where things start to get really interesting. Because what happens in the past doesn't stay in the past. It changes the present. We see this clearly through the connection between the younger and older versions of Lee Shaw. As the two interact across time, every action taken by the younger Shaw begins to ripple forward. And the show doesn't just tell us this, it shows us. Physically. When the younger Shaw gets injured while navigating the deadly Axis Mundi, the older version suddenly develops a scar that was never there before. That moment alone changes everything. Because it proves that time in Monarch isn't fixed. It's fluid. It can be rewritten. And here's where it gets crazy. If something as small as a cut can alter the present, imagine what a major decision could do to the entire timeline. As the conversations between the two versions of Shaw escalate, there's a fascinating shift. At first, the older Shaw hides the truth, pretending to be someone else. But eventually, he reveals who he really is. And when he does, something even more important happens. He remembers it. The moment becomes part of his past. Which means the timeline is actively rewriting itself in real time. And that leads to one of the biggest turning points in the episode. The decision about Keiko. Why Lee did not save Keiko explained. At first, the younger Shaw wants to do what seems like the obvious choice. Save Keiko Miura. Change the past. Fix what went wrong. But the older Shaw stops him. And the reason why is one of the most important ideas in the entire series. Because saving Keiko too early could break everything. And this is the moment where Shaw makes a choice that feels wrong emotionally, but might be the only thing keeping reality from collapsing. The older Shaw explains that Keiko is already destined to be saved, but at a specific point in time. Changing that moment could create a ripple effect that alters everything that comes after, including people's existence. Think about it. If Keiko had returned earlier, her relationship with Hiroshi could have changed completely. That, in turn, could have affected the birth of Kentaro and Kate Randa. And if they were never born, then the events of the present timeline wouldn't exist as we know them. Even Hiroshi himself might have taken a different path, one that never led him into the Axis Mundi in the first place. So Shaw makes the hardest decision possible. He lets Keiko go. Not because he doesn't care, but because it's the only way to protect the timeline. Instead, he makes a different change. A calculated one. He places a tracker on Titan X in the past. And instantly, that change carries forward. In the present, the older Shaw now has the ability to track the Titan. Which brings us right back to the present-day storyline. And the dangerous plan that's about to unfold. Is Monarch Season 2 setting up Lee Shaw's death? By the end of the episode, everything points to one possibility.
Shaw believes this could be the end.
His decision to go alone. His urgency. his willingness to provoke a Titan battle. It all adds up. Because, let's be real, starting a fight between two Titans isn't just risky, it's basically a death sentence. The show has already made it clear how destructive Titans are. Entire cities fall when they clash. Landscapes are wiped out. Survival becomes almost impossible. And now, Shaw is intentionally putting himself in the middle of that, with nowhere to hide. Especially in the desert setting we see Titan X heading toward. No cover. No escape. Just open terrain and two unstoppable forces. But here's where things get interesting. Despite all of this, it's still unlikely that Shaw actually dies.
Why?
Because the older Shaw is one of the most important characters in the present timeline. Removing him now would create a massive gap in the story, which suggests something else is going on. So the real question isn't if Shaw will die. It's what he knows that makes him willing to risk it. Because Shaw isn't reckless. He's strategic, which means this plan, no matter how dangerous, serves a purpose. What's next for Titan X? By the end of episode 7, all the pieces are in place. The tracker is active. Shaw knows where Titan X is. And now, he has the means to bring Godzilla into the equation. But here's the twist. Titan X might not actually be the villain. And this changes everything, because what if Shaw is about to start a war that never needed to happen? Through Kate and Keiko's research, we learn something critical. Titan X isn't acting randomly. It has a purpose, a direction, a destination. There's evidence in ancient lore, in its movements, even in the sounds it emits, that suggests it's following a specific path, possibly connected to something deeper within the Earth. And according to Kate, Titan X may not be a threat at all. It might be trying to do something important, which raises a massive question. What happens if Shaw is wrong? If Titan X is part of a natural balance and Shaw disrupts that balance by bringing Godzilla into the fight, then the consequences could be catastrophic. Not just for him, but for the entire world. And that's what makes this storyline so compelling. Because it's not just about action. It's about choices. About understanding. About whether humanity truly knows enough to interfere with forces this powerful. As we move forward in Monarch, Legacy of Monsters Season 2, one thing is clear. Everything is connected.
The past.
The present. The Titans. And the people trying to control them. And at the center of it all is Lee Shaw. A man standing on the edge of a decision that could either save the world or destroy it. Because in the Monsterverse, the biggest danger isn't always the monsters. Sometimes, it's the people who think they can control them. In the past, Billy traced Titan X's moves, traveling through the world to pinpoint all the locations the kaiju would visit. That eventually brought him back to Santa Soledad, which had Monarch's Outpost 27, which Lee and Keiko found out was active in 1968, when Billy was on the island. Santa Soledad's citizens moved out after Monarch moved in. From Titan X's migratory route, they are able to pinpoint that the beast was awakened by Kate years before it was supposed to. Titan X was meant to travel from the Axis Mundi to Santa Soledad in 2023. However, with its cycle disrupted, it remains to be seen what the beast's end goal is.